Yeah, thank you to Paul for doing this. VHF Radio.
I'm not going to make this very long, or it's just mainly to get everybody to do the right procedures and know how to operate the radios and look after them. Now, these ICOMs are waterproof, but you can put them in the bags as well. But make sure, if you put it in the bag, that this is not bent. And another thing, don't hold it by that, because eventually it breaks the aerial inside and you get limited reception. Our working channel is 37 or Marina 1. The radios are actually locked on it that go out on the boat, and the base station has only got Marina 1 in it. So all our traffic is on Marina 1. The radio itself, and I have got this one switched on. Now you should all be familiar with it. The radios themselves, you've got press to talk on the side. So you press to talk and release when you've finished. And you hold it about that distance away from your face when you're talking. Because if you hold it closer, it gets garbled. You have volume and squelch button on here. Now the squelch is very important, and I'll just turn this one down. That's when the squelch is not set correctly. And you just take it up enough to knock that interference out. Otherwise, again, you don't get the best reception out of it. The volume is also on the same button, so it's actually saying volume here. So you can put the go onto it and up and down the volume. The rest of it, you don't really need to know anything about, because we're not actually using these buttons. Those of us that have got the licenses know how to overcome it and do it. So is there anybody got any questions about the radios?
So no one could accidentally change the channel then?
Nobody can accidentally change the channel unless they actually manage to press the wrong button. But they should be locked on 37, because most people don't know what we're working on. Right, when you come in, the radios need to be washed off with fresh water and dried, paying particular attention to the two contacts on the back, here, on the back of the battery, so that they make, and then they've got to be put back in their chargers in the OOD box, so that they go in and they make good contact, so that they're charged and ready to use the next time we want them.
Is there an indicator on them showing they're charging?
Yeah, it's in the top corner, and there should be 3, but when it's fully charged it's got 3 bars. Now we go on to the actual use of it, and this is we must stick to proper procedure. And one big no-no on these radios is swearing. There should be no bad language over the air at all. Another thing is, they are toys, so the kids should not be allowed to have these things. They're not allowed to operate them legally. You've got to be 18 to actually operate one of these.
And that's because you're broadcasting on essentially a public channel.
Yeah. I mean, you should always have the lanyard on, so that if it's going to go anywhere, it's just going to fall against you. On my buoyancy aid, I've actually got a pocket, and I put it in the pocket, so I can hear it, and also it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to fall. So
if the radio did accidentally get dropped into the sea, but they still function?
Yes, some of these things float. I don't know about these ones.
They do float, yeah.
Yeah. But we have lost a few over the side because people haven't either had it round their wrist or round their neck, and they've dropped them over the side.
We do generally carry a spare on the safety boats, don't we?
We do now, but we never used to. And there should only be, although there's two on the boat, there should only be one switched on, otherwise you'll get feedback between the two radios. You'll get a high pitch whistle.
What sort of range are those radios got then?
They'll do the whole of the bay. They haven't, the base station, or the big radios that the yachts and that have got on, they've got a lot bigger range because they've got their masts, their aerials are higher up, and they broadcast on a lot higher wattage than what these do. I mean, they can go to 25 watts. These have only got a maximum of about 5 watts. And also when the aerial's down there, it doesn't radiate out as much.
Well, on the radios they have high and low. Is that the?
Yeah, that's the high and low. It has got two. It's got 1 watt and 5 watts. We normally have them on reasonably high, so that it will do the whole bay.
So if it was accidentally on 1 watt and you weren't receiving, you could put it up to 5 watts to get a better reception. Yeah.
But obviously you've got to unlock it to do it. So you've got to know how to do the unlock, but we don't want people to know how to do the unlock that much. Radio procedure. So if you're in the base, on the base station, and you want to call the safety boat is Porthpean 1. So the call would be Porthpean 1, Porthpean 1, Porthpean 1. This is Porthpean base, Porthpean base. Over. And then Porthpean 1 should reply, Porthpean base, this is Porthpean 1, over. And then the base can pass the message that they want to pass. Once you finish the conversation and you've got you don't want to talk again, only then do you say over. And you don't say over, you say out. That means conversation finished, no more transmission. It's not over and out, it's out. Over means I want you to come back to me. Out means finish a conversation. Has everybody got that? Because that is a big one that is forgotten.
So it's just one side of the conversation saying out. Does the other side agree out? Or is it
No,
one person?
One person.
Okay.
I usually say listening out. Is that?
You could say listening out, but out is actually what they say on the radio course.
So the initial call then, Paul, is 3 times to the...
3 times who you want to contact,
Yeah.
and twice who's calling, so that they make sure, so that the person knows who it is that's calling. Now, should you not, you get the message but not know who it is because you haven't heard who's calling, you should go on and say, station calling Porthpean 1, this is Porthpean 1, and then they can, so that they know that you've been heard, but that's the only time that you don't call 3 times, you just say station calling. And it's more when you've got, we only ever get that problem when we've got more than one boat running. So when we're running national championships, we've got 5 or 6 different call signs out there, and they're all calling one another. And sometimes Porthpean 1 is calling one, Porthpean 2 and Porthpean 3 will answer, or something like that. So that's the reason for the 3 times call of who you want to talk to. So if you say just Porthpean 1, Porthpean 2, nobody knows what you're saying. I'm not going to go into the Mayday or anything like that because we don't need it. Not for our operations. Because if we want the emergency services, you call base and base will call on the phone.
So a question, if you're in the LOD box on the radio and you wanted, say it was the Nationals and you wanted to get hold of all the safety boats, do we have a procedure?
Yes, should be all Porthpean stations, This is Porthpean base.
Okay.
When I was doing race officer, you would have heard that a lot out there, because as I went into a start sequence or anything like that, I would call all Porthpean stations. I would call for radio silence.
If you're on the safety boat then and you're getting issues with, receiving and sending voice, what sort of things would you first look at then?
Well, the first thing is to look at the squelch, which is what I explained at the beginning, to make sure that the squelch is not too high, because if the squelch is set too high, that will cause the signal to be poor. So the squelch is always, when you turn the squelch down until you hear that horrible noise, and then just slowly take it up until it stops. And then the radio is set its ideal, and all radios are different. So the base station is exactly the same. It's got squelch on it. Turn that one up, back until you get the noise. Turn it up a little bit until it stops.
I know in the past we've had issues where water's got onto the microphone and that's caused issues with communication. Is there a way of clearing that?
Can I add something here? Those radios do have a vibration button, which I can't remember where it is at the moment. And I would have to read the instructions again.
Yeah.
I will make sure that it's written out for everybody who's using the radios to see, so that if they do get water in the microphones and the loudspeakers, you can vibrate it and it will shake the water out. Okay. The other thing I've found quite useful is, if it's really rough and wet out there, stick them inside your buoyancy aid and they don't get wet. And they work a lot better.
Yeah, which is why I say it. That's why I've always got mine in my pocket. on my buoyancy aid.
Have these got the beacon indicator? They light up when they're wet, aren't they?
They do, yes.
So when they do get wet, the light comes on.
Is when once you get down on the beach, is call the base and do a radio check, or even once you've got afloat, do a call before you get too far out and make sure that you're communicating with base.
If it was on, for some unknown reason, on one walk,
Yeah.
in terms of doing a radio check, how much radius have you got relative to the 5? Beach marks?
Yeah.
Didn't work
A bit
at all.
further?
When it was on low, it didn't.
It wouldn't go at all.
Didn't go at all. No.
It probably would work out at the beach marks on 1 watt, but they should all be locked on high.
Does it indicate that it's on 5 anywhere?
It says high.
It just
On the
says high.
screen.
Yeah.
So we should check.
Yeah, you must keep the button pressed in all the time you're talking, and as soon as you've said over or out, take your finger off the button.
I know, I've done that.
Otherwise,
Took away.
we've got and we've had it out there. Somebody's been out there. How they've done it, I don't know, but they've managed to keep the radio on transmit, which then stops all communications.
Assuming we've got it, we've checked the radio, we've gone out there, we've done our radio check and everything else.
Yes.
Is there then, what if you're in the hut here as OOD, what level of communication are you expecting the safety boat, once he's set his course, to do with you? What's the right protocol? What should we be following?
Well, once the safety boat has finished setting his course and got himself in position, he should then call the OOD to say that he's in position for the start, so that they know that they're ready to do the start when they're ready to do the start.
So Porthpean base, Porthpean base, Porthpean base, this is
Yeah.
Porthpean 1. Course has been set, we're in position, ready for start when you are, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah. Usually you would say over, because they would probably then give you an indication of how long they're going to be before they require you to do anything on the boat. So they can come back and say to you, right, in that case we will fire the gun in 1 minute. Yeah, the etiquette is the main thing. No swearing, no children, and make sure and you can discuss how long you're going to wait for a start for boats coming out from the beach. Anything relevant to what we're doing you can discuss, but you don't want to be on there.
Where if there's a capsize, for instance.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. There's been a lot. There's been a lot of that where people have come alongside the safety boat and called up. Can you order us a pasty or a toasted sandwich or whatever? Yeah, that's fine. There's no problem with that. It's a short message. But what we don't want is long conversations, especially when you're running a nationals, between safety boats out there.
Because obviously, I guess the whole time you're on the radio, you're blocking the channels for everybody.
Yes.
Everybody else.
Yeah, you're stopping it. So the shorter the conversation, the better, really. Remembering that we're using these for safety, not for main chit chat. And that noise is what you'll get with squelch, but that is also somebody transmitting.
Before we go out then, can we say my call sign tonight is Jeremy?
No. No.
Okay.
We are registered to our call signs. So it's Porthpean 1 or whatever rib we've got,
Yeah.
how many ribs we've got out there. If we're only running the 1, it's always Porthpean 1. And if we're running a nationals and you're out there, you're allocated a call sign. And the same with the yachts. When we're using the yachts out there, you can either call committee boat or you can call the name of the yacht. When we were doing it with Alexis, everybody tended to call us Alexis. Is there any more questions or anything anybody wants to know?
That's quite good.
No, I think we.
I think that's
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Paul.
Well done, Paul.
Turn this one off.